Hello, thank you so much for joining us. I'm joined by Gilly Flaherty today, the West Ham women's captain. Gilly, thank you so much for joining me. Gilly has had an incredible career, from FA Cup titles to Champions League titles to more recently captaining the West Ham team to their first FA Cup final. But also in the last 11 years, Gilly has been hiding a painful memory and more recently has spoken up about it as part of the Time Talk campaign. Gilly, firstly, thank you for coming in today and sharing what must be a difficult time for you to deal with, but also a positive thing as well. Can we, if you are happy to, can we go back 11 years to the age of 17 and describe to me how you were feeling at that time?
Yeah, so I was in a very low place. I felt lonely, I felt isolated. I was living away from home, so I felt distant from my family. And then I was just going through a bad time with college. I was really struggling with my college work. I had to drop down a level because I just weren't doing the coursework. I was struggling with my football because I was involved with the Arsenal first team, but I was only a kid.
And how old were you when you first kind of went into Arsenal first team?
Well, I was 15 when I got the call up to the first team, and then I stayed within the setup. And then obviously when I went to college, I was mainly a first team player. But again, I weren't playing because if you looked at the team back then, it was incredible, like a team full of legends. And I knew realistically I wasn't going to play, but I was struggling with the idea of just being on the bench and then also struggling with my sexuality too, because I knew from young that I was gay, but I didn't ever address it really. So there was a build-up of a load of things, and ultimately I didn't cope with it at all.
Why now? So obviously, 11 years on, why now do you feel it was the right time for you to speak about that experience that day?
I'd say probably only the last couple of years where I've actually fully accepted what I've done and what happened. I think after it happened, it was sort of right, I don't talk about it, just sort of brush it under the carpet and act like it never happened. And then it was only really the past 2 years where I've seen and heard of a lot more people taking their own lives. And it's sort of every time someone does it, it just hits home to me and it takes me back to that day, that feeling that I felt. And then obviously I spoke to my media guy towards the back end of last year and said, listen, this is my story. And it was the first time I'd actually spoken about it to someone outside of my family. And I said, listen, this is what I went through and I want to tell people about it. I want to talk to people about it. And he said, listen, let's wait until February time. There's a Time to Talk campaign, Heads Up campaign that I think it'll work really well with. And yeah, we just sort of blended it in and made the decision to do it then.
And what kind of response have you had from your family and friends and on social media?
Yeah, it's funny because when I'd done all the interviews and obviously with West Ham, with BBC and with Guardian, and I didn't tell my family it was happening. And then it was when I got all the videos and the edits sent to me the night before, I remember messaging them saying, listen, like, I just want you to know this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm talking about. Here's the videos, and it was sort of a nervous response really. Like I didn't know what to expect from them. I didn't know whether they was going to come back and go, well, why are you talking about it for, sort of thing. And then the messages started coming in, and my mum and dad were in tears and were like, we're so proud of you for talking about it. And ultimately, it'll always hurt my family what I done because I didn't go to them first. But for me now, they've seen how much I've grown since then. But the response we've had has just been overwhelming. Like on the Thursday, it's just my phone would not stop going off from 10 o'clock. And it got to the point where I just had to sit down and go, like, put my phone to the side and say, wow. Like, and then the BBC article come out on the Friday. So it was that one happened, and then everyone sort of calmed down, and then it happened again. And yeah, it was an incredible feeling. The messages that I had from people, I try and reply to everyone, but they were people who reached out to me and said that they'd been through something similar, and even people who I went to the academy with at the time coming to me and saying like, we never knew how you felt, we're so sorry. And it's like, listen, you ain't got to say sorry, do you know what I mean? No one knew how I felt, like not even my family.
I know you had some reservations, right up until the very last minute, whether you wanted to do this or not and whether it was the right time. Now that you've received such, positive response, do you think it was the right thing to do?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I did that after the interviews had all been done and that, and I just said, listen, I don't think I can do it. Like, I think it's that fear of rejection again. Do you know what I mean? That fear of what about if people are going to judge me for doing it, and I didn't want I didn't want people in now to judge me for me doing that back then. Like, I'm a completely different person now. I'm so much stronger. But even that come out, like, I went into training and I felt very vulnerable, because I thought, what about if my teammates, I'm the captain, so I've always got this hard persona, and I'm thinking, what about if they're looking at me now thinking, well, she's weak. Do you know what I mean? Because of what she'd done. And I felt very vulnerable that day, but the response I just had from everyone was brilliant.
Even just meeting you downstairs, you know, you have this bubbly persona, you know, you're very talkative, very easy to talk to. You know, you've talked about how sometimes people don't know whether you're struggling, you know, your external persona is very different to maybe how you're feeling inside. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm bubbly, I'm outgoing, I probably talk too much at times, but yeah, like I'll talk to everyone and anyone, and I always go into football and I'm always happy, and I was like that when I was a youngster. But yeah, you go in and you put a front on. Like I was always told when I was younger, like, you don't show emotion. Do you know what I mean? And that's not come from my family, that's come from me being in the football environment. You were seen as weak if you cried after, you know what I mean, if you lose a game or whatever.
Do you think that, you know, culture within football is changing, that you don't have to be this, you know, tough person? Yeah,
most definitely. And I think now, like, when I was younger, I constantly feared that. Like, if I got upset, I was fearful of the comments or people saying, why are you being a crybaby for? You're not strong enough, you can't handle it. And I went through that my whole career when I was younger, of you're not going to be able to handle top flight football because you can't handle the pressure. And it's like, well, hold a minute, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Do you know what I mean? I can't hide my emotion. Like, even my partner says it now, she'll look at me and she'll go, I can tell exactly what's the matter with you by your face, because I can't hide it. But I think now definitely it's more acceptable. And now I feel like, listen, I'm going to cry. If I want to cry, I'm going to cry. If I want to get angry, I'm going to get angry. Like, I deal with things differently now. But that fear of being judged for it, it's just sort of like, well, I'll stand up for myself now. Do you know what I mean? If someone tried to say it to me now, it'd be a little bit like, well, listen, I'm going to cry. If you've got a problem with that, do you know what I mean? Take it elsewhere. But I'm not going to change who I am now, no way.
In day-to-day life, you know, life in general, you have your ups and downs. How have you learnt to cope? What strategies have you adopted that works for you?
I mean, I've got two beautiful French bulldogs who, if any time I get annoyed or I just feel like I just need to get out, I'll just take them for a walk.
That's like me. I have a beautiful cockapoodle.
They're unreal. Dogs are
the
brilliant.
Best kind of therapy.
100%. So I'll do that. I tend to now, like, as in, I'll have a cup of tea, I'll sit down, and I'll just try and take myself out of it. But I feel like now, even with football, like, if things aren't going the way I ideally want them to go, for me, coming home now, I switch off from it. Whereas before, probably I took my football and I took that home with me and didn't really create a happy home life, if that makes sense. So now it's about, listen, I know that I can only control the controllables. That's something that I really live off by, because if something's out of my hand, there's no point in me getting all wound up and upset about it if I can't change it. And it's just, yeah, being more honest and being more open to talking.
You said that family and your partner, Lily, you know, was a huge part of that supportive network in you, allowing you to, you know, speak up about your issues. And can you describe to me how your family has supported you through this?
Oh, they've been brilliant. My partner obviously has seen me go through the phase of, I don't want to do it, I'm going to bottle out of it, sort of thing. So she's seen that side of it, where obviously my family weren't aware at all of me doing it. But yeah, since I've done it, like, they've been brilliant. Like, we watched the edits, me and Lil, together, and we both just sat there, the music started playing, I just looked at her and we was like, woo, like, crying. And it's not even, they know what's happening. I think it's just where they see me so vulnerable and upset, it's sort of like, wow. But yeah, they've been brilliant. Like, my sisters have been fantastic with it. They're telling me now, like, obviously how much stronger I am and how proud they are of me. And for me, that's ultimately the reason why I done it, was because I wanted to help people who are in a similar position, and to say, listen, like, if I can get through that and save myself and get me to where I am now, like, you can do exactly the same.
If you could speak to your 17-year-old self, what would you say to her now?
I'd say, in all honesty, I'd say leave college and go home. Like, talk to mum and dad. That's exactly what I'd say. I'd say be honest with them. And
do you think maybe you went into the academy too soon?
Yeah, I just think, like, I just wanted to play football. That's all I wanted to do, was just play football. And I could have still done that if I'd stayed at home, but for me now, like the past couple of years, I've taken a locksmith course. Like I've set up my own business, but I've done that because I didn't come out of college with anything. I tried to do a personal training course, which I could have done at college. So for me, because I wasn't engaged in anything and I wasn't focused, and I just wanted to do football, and probably the people around me weren't strong enough to go, listen, if you don't do your college work, you won't play in, and take that away from me, then maybe I would have carried on, and I would have done it. Do you know what I mean? But because I sort of knew that, listen, I don't really care about my college because I just want to be a footballer. And even then, it wasn't professional. So I don't know where I got the idea from that I was going to be it, but I just wanted to do that. Well, I wish I would have stayed at home. I wish I'd gone to college, got a trade under my belt, and regardless then if I'd have been a professional footballer or not, I still would have had that qualification. Like I didn't even get enough points to go to uni. So that option was out the window. So like little things like that, you don't realise when you're young. So you just think, oh, I just want to play football. I want to do this, I want to do that. And you ultimately don't realise how important education is.
Well, you've had a hugely successful career to date, you know, quadruple with Arsenal, Chelsea, some England caps as well. In terms of your message to young girls that are wanting to get into football and maybe experiencing some issues themselves, what is your message to them?
I just think like just to talk to people, like find an outlet, do you know what I mean? And I said this before about trying to get people involved in sports, because for me, when I play football, like all my worries and all my stresses goes away for them 2 hours that I train for. And every time I walk into a training ground, like I sit there, I'm in football mode, but I don't think about things. When I come out, I say this today, I said it actually, when I come out, that's when life starts. That's when I go home, do you know what I mean? I think about what's happening for dinner and if the dog's been walked yet or not, like little things like that. Whereas for me, it's when I go there, I'm solely focused on it. So I've always said that if you're struggling with anything, or do you know what I mean? To be able to meet mates that are still mates with me from back then, like I speak more to my football mates that I have than people I went to school with. Like my best mate, I've known since I was 12, and we went from Arsenal under 14s together all the way through. Like you meet the best mates possible in that environment. So for me, it'd just be, listen, go and find a team. It might not necessarily be football, it could be any sport, but go and do it. Not only are you helping yourself in regards to friendships, but also mentally and physically too. But it's just, it releases all the endorphins and it makes you feel good after you've exercised, and that you feel brilliant. So that, it'd be one thing. I'd just engage, just find something, and find something that you enjoy liking, do you know what I mean, and that you're interested in.
As someone that, you know, is in the limelight, you know, you're on social media, how do you deal with some of the negative comments that you may be faced with?
It's really funny because I actually spoke about that exact question with my mother-in-law earlier. And she said, like, what would you do? Like, and I just said, for me, I've got a good following, but not massive. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's the negative comments are like few. But if I do, like, my initial reaction is sometimes I just want to bite back at them, but I don't. I just block them, and I just say, listen, that one person's negative comment ain't gonna change my day. And it's the same with Instagram. I'll just block them. But I think for me on social media, like, I don't put myself in the position where I'm gonna say something controversial, because I think I'm not getting involved in the arguments or the. Do you know what I mean? I don't need it. It's just I like reading Twitter because I think it's great for interactions and that. But at the same time, I only really talk about football on there, and I give my opinion on things, but I wouldn't put something up that was controversial, because I'd think ultimately it's just going to come back on me, and it's just too draining, I think, to be like that.
Do you think sports players need to have training in terms of using social media and how to protect themselves? Yeah,
we have it at the start of every season. We have it where we sit down with the media guys and they say, right, listen, you're not allowed to put something like this up. You're not allowed to put something like that up. Because ultimately, professionals run a lot of emotions. So after a game, for example, if we lose and the ref could have made a couple of bad decisions, ultimately you go on social media like everyone does after a game, and then they read comments and they think, oh, I want to type this, da, da, da. And I think what really helps me...
Plenty last night after the Man U, Harry Maguire.
Yeah, even reading it. But I think what helps me is, and my partner will laugh at this, because she'll sit there and she'll see me going, and then she'll say, what you writing? And I'll go, delete it all. But I feel like I've got it out. And I write the tweet and I go, I'm not going to tweet it. I'm just going to delete it all. But I feel better after doing it, because I feel like then I've got out what I needed to say. But yeah, you just got to be... You've got to be clever. Like, obviously, for us, we're not allowed to swear. We're not allowed to to write anything obviously rude or anything like that, but you have got to be a strong person to be on social media when you are in a position like we are.
Over the course of your career, do you think that support as a player has improved, and is there a way of more improvement to be made?
Yeah, well, it has to have improved, because obviously we've gone from being not professional to then obviously to semi-pro to then professional. And with that, it's not just about what you do on the pitch, it's about what you do off it and the way you carry yourself off it. And for me, it's like, you say like your social media is like your CV really, and it's like if you're looking to go to another team, for example, when you don't want to put nothing out there that will ultimately affect that.
But in terms of those pressures that you faced in order, to be in the top 3 teams, in order to get a cap for England, how did you cope with that pressure?
I think you just have to accept that that's part and parcel of the job that you're in. And I think a lot of it, though, even in regards to like England, a lot of that pressure is from outside. It's from people saying you should be involved in it. Do you know what I mean? You should be a part of that team. Where again, it comes down to the fact of, well, it's something that I can't control. Like, as long as I can walk off the pitch after every game that I play for West Ham and go, do you know what, I've done my best today. If I get the England call-up, I get an England call-up. If I don't, I don't. But as long as I'm doing everything I possibly can, then at least I can go to bed at night and sleep well. And that's ultimately what I think about it. It's like the pressures of, we've got to win, or we've got to, obviously when I was at Chelsea, it was like, we've got to win the league.
Yeah.
But for me, I thrive off of that. Like that's where I want to be. And ultimately, you want to win every game you play in. So for us now, it's about obviously getting West Ham to that place where we go, right, listen, we don't want to be down the bottom fighting relegation. We want to be challenging for the top.
You talked about your sexuality and how it was difficult for you when you were younger to come to terms with that and to speak openly about that. Obviously now, you're happily with Lily and you're a strong ambassador of Stonewall. Can you talk a bit more about that and why that's important?
Yeah, so I'd come out to my family about 6 months after I took the overdose. So my family was fully aware, and obviously I'd had girlfriends growing up, and it was then, I'd never hid it. Like, once I told my family, like, I never did a thing on social media and come out on social media or anything like that. Like, I'd put pictures up with my girlfriends, etc. And then, we done obviously, I was aware of the Stonewalls while I was at Chelsea.
Yeah.
We'd get the rainbow laces come through. But then it was going to West Ham, and it was in my first year, and the media guy said, do you want to do something for Stonewall? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then they done an interview, and then I was like, well, yeah, because he was like, obviously, what do you label yourself as? And I was like, well, I'm gay. Like, I'm out and out gay, do you know what I mean? And the article come out and the interview come out, and I was a bit like, oh, I didn't think it was going to be as big as what it was.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, Gilly, what you've done is incredible. And I'm like, but I've been out.
To you, it didn't seem like a big
I didn't feel like I was coming out because I'd been out. It's been all over my social media. So it was a chance then for people to go, well, listen, she's actually come out and said it now, because you do. Within women's football as well, I think it's such a community where it's very accepted. And of course, there's always going to be rumours within women's football, so-and-so's with so-and-so, or that person might be gay. And so for me to do that, people was like, oh, like she's actually confirmed it, sort of thing. But the campaign they do is brilliant. Like, we have obviously the rainbow laces. I wear the rainbow captain's armband. We've got an LGBT group, Pride of Irons at West Ham, that come down, and it's basically so welcoming. And do you know what I mean? It's just to let people know, listen, regardless of what sexuality you are, football is for everybody, as they say.
So obviously you're heavily involved in the Time to Talk campaign, the Heads Up campaign. Why is that so important to you?
It's important because of what I've gone through, and it links in really well with that. But it's time to talk, because you just think, how many more suicides is it going to take for us to go, listen?
Do you think the key is conversation?
Conversation and talking to someone to actually listen to them. Do you know what I mean? Not just to talk to someone and everything they're saying, you're just letting it go in one ear and out the other. Like, actually take the time to sit down with someone and just say, listen, like, is everything okay? Like, just be honest, do you know what I mean? But like I said, it's a two-way thing. Someone could sit down with me 11 years ago and say, Jill, you're all right. And I'd have gone, yeah, I'm fine. But deep down, I was broken, do you know what I mean? So that person has to go, listen, I have to want to help myself as well, and I have to want to get out of the pit that I'm in. And that's, for me, football was my release, because I stopped thinking about it. But then when I went home, and because I was so lonely, then all them thoughts were happening again. But it's massive.
And Heads Up campaign has really kind of brought footballers together, you know, everyone that's dealing with their own, you know, demons kind of coming together. Do you think it's a great thing that there's this network now?
I think it's for people to go, well, listen, if Gilly's doing it or Prince William's a part of it, do you know what I mean? Like little things like that, they're like, well, hold on a minute, these are not obviously your average Joes. Like these are people who are where they are and they've gone through something like that. So like I said, if someone can take inspiration from what I've done and go, well, hold on a minute, if she can do it, then I can do it. Like, I feel now I've probably gone through more struggles growing up after that in regards to football and just regards to life in general. But so I think I couldn't cope with back then with what I went through, but I can cope going through a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? Since, so for me, I know I've become stronger since that period because I don't think my 17-year-old would have been able to handle what I've gone through even the past 2 or 3 years. So I know then, but now I know that there's people around me that I can lean on and that I can talk to and that I can just be honest about it.
So obviously this is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you had one message to, you know, young girls that are aspiring to get into football and maybe are having questions about whether, you know, they're fit enough or their right physique or, you know, any issues, what would your message be to them?
I'll say just go and do it. Do you know what I mean? I had issues with my physique when I was younger and the comments that I received from it. But I just think you have to look at the long term. Do you know what I mean? You have to look at, is this what I want to do? Right? Do I want to do it seriously and potentially look at it as a career, or am I doing it just to mainly get fun out of it and just enjoy it? Because I think there are different pressures involved in that. If you want to do the career side of it, you want to go the full length, then of course you have to make sure that you're in the best shape possible, you're fit enough. But for you, if you're just doing it as a hobby and just something that you know what I mean, to let them releases out or doing it a couple of nights a week with your mates, then that pressure's irrelevant. Like, do you know what I mean? As long as you're out there and you're having fun and you're doing it with a smile on your face, that's massive. But I think for me, it's the enjoyment side of it and knowing when that smile stops showing, that's when you need to stop. Or B, something needs to change.
Just finally, you talked about how now, you know, if your family's reaction and if you said about a WhatsApp message, that if you hadn't replied to a WhatsApp message to your mum and your mum was suddenly worried. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, so it was random because this was before my mum even knew I was doing it. And I think like back then when I was younger, like I'd get dropped off on a Sunday night to academy and I wouldn't pick up the phone to my mum all week, and then I'd get picked up on Friday, and you know what mums are like, they're like, well, why aren't you picking up the phone to me? And even that, if I don't talk to my mum for a few days, she answers the phone, she goes, hello stranger, like...
Rings so many bells.
Yeah, where you been? And I'm like, mum, come on, it's been a couple of days. But yeah, I rang her and we was on the phone for, I think it was on the phone for an hour and a half, and she said, I do really worry when you go quiet in the WhatsApp group or you quiet on social media. And I was like, why? And she was like, because I'm scared you're going to do it again. And I think then it home was a bit like...
Have you found that you've had to almost reassure your family that, you know...
Yeah, well, I said straight away, I said, listen, mum, like, I go quiet in the WhatsApp group sometimes because I don't get home from late from training. I'm tired, I'll get in, I have dinner, I walk the dogs, I'll get in bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just, sometimes I read it, I'll go home after training, there could be 100 messages in the WhatsApp group, and I'm just like, just scrolling through it, and I'm like, I'll talk, like, if you're that worried, like, don't feel afraid you can't pick up the phone, do you know what I mean? But then it sort of hit home, listen, like, she'll always have them doubts. Like, I remember when I first done it, like, she cleared out the whole medical cupboard, took it all away. And even in me, like, I'll really try hard not to touch paracetamol again because of what I went through. And even like football, like the medical staff at football didn't know that. So when I had like, whether it be pain or injury, they'd be like, take these. And I'd go, oh, you don't know, like, you don't know why I don't really want to take them, but I took them anyway. So there'll always be that. So my mum and dad will probably always fear that because they see me then at my lowest when they come in to the hospital. But it's probably down to me to reassure and go, listen, like, I've grown up a lot. Do you know what I mean? I'm a lot stronger now than what I was back then. And like, I'll never ever do it again. I never would.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your incredible story and being so brave. I have no doubt it will have a huge positive impact.
No,
so
thank you so
much. Thank you. And if you've enjoyed what you've liked watching, then please make sure that you like, comment and share. Thank you.